Hello, welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks. We'll get started right away. Head over to the island of Krk, which is in Croatia. The date is August 12th, 1907. Josef Slivovic, he is swimming with a friend, and the friend hears a piercing cry, turns around and looks and sees him being dragged underwater. That's all the information they had. It was from 1907. It was newspaper clippings from back then that they had in the paper. They went ahead and they put out a $5 reward per shark. So they said 1 pound sterling silver, I guess that's $5 per shark. They were trying to find that shark because a week earlier a woman was taken in the same fashion. We will probably go over that one. I have a couple other Croatia attacks, and that's our first attack, and I would say a predation. Okay, now we're going to head over off the coast of Florida, off of Walton Beach Park. The date is August 12th, 2021. Jeremy Carr, he's 41 years old. He's going out surfing. It's in the morning. 6:44 is the time he's attacked. He's in 3 to 5 feet of water, 30 yards from shore. Sunrise ain't for another hour, and he's climbing onto his board, and a shark comes up and bites him in the foot real quick and just releases and goes away. Being at that time of day, that's when they come up and they feed, so you know, that's definitely a mistaken identity, I would say. He said it was a bull shark. I don't know how he would even be able to see it being that, you know, that dark. I know the moon can light it up and you can see pretty well, but it'd be kind of hard to identify a real quick bite like that. So could be anything. Could be a bonnet head. Could be you know, anything that was in the area. We've had that happen with the hammerhead shark, where it came up, grabbed the person by the leg, and let go really quick and went away. So could be anything. I'm not going to put that down as a bull shark attack. I'm going to put it down as an attack, no attempt to predate. Okay, now we're going to head over off the coast of South Africa, off of Skipskop Reef. The date is April 2nd, 1994. Gabriel Francois de Ries, he is out spearfishing with some friends, obviously. He disappears while he's spearfishing. He's two nautical miles off of the coast, which is where Skipskop Reef is, and he just disappears. Search for him, discovers his gun, the spear, his mask, his fins. So they found all this stuff, but they also found his hood, and his hood was all torn up. But when they put it on somebody's head, there's a cut going all the way through. So the hood, just a regular dive hood, is cut all the way through the side. They said it had to have been worn when that happened. So he was bit into the head pretty bad. They don't know whether he was alive when he got that bite, but he was taken by a shark, so we're definitely going to put that down as an attack and an attempt to predate. It was 18 meters deep where he was at. No telling how deep he was when he was attacked, though. At first they thought he might have blacked out and drowned, but once they found his equipment, they were pretty sure that the shark had gotten him. And that's just pretty bad bite there, right to the head, taken right into there. So, ooh, I hate those head and face wounds, are just, well, and groin, those three. So that's our story of the Ries, an attack and a predation. Okay, now we're going to head over off of the coast of Maui, Hawaii at Malaco Point. The date is November 19th, 1991. Sukaiu Park, he goes by Steve. He was out and he was fishing from the rocks with his son. Waves came in and swept him out to sea, and he was out there and he was treading water. He wasn't able to make it back in because conditions were too rough. Currents were probably holding him out there. So his son had to go get help. Last he was seen, he was waiting, treading water and waving, so to let his son know to go get help. 30 minutes later they return and he is not to be found. They launch a search when they're able to, with the conditions to be okay for it, and they find his tattered shirt and shorts, and they said 12-foot tiger shark, about a 12-foot tiger shark, 3.7 meters was consistent with it, but the bites, it's like it ate the side of his body. because it just chunked. The shirt is just chunked all the way down from like the shoulder all the way down to the hip, and the shorts are bit into at the hip too. So it's like it took multiple bites on the side of them. I would think that would take at least 2 bites to be able to do that. But you know, we're going to put that down as an attack and an attempt to consume. So it consumed quite a bit of them, and it didn't consume them all, but I mean, a 12-foot tiger shark, it's just going to take what it wants. You know, they're going to consume an arm and take it and go. That's usually what they do, but it definitely took more than 1 bite on him, and no telling what happened to the rest of the body. It could have consumed it all. So they never did find him, and that's our story of Steve Park, and we're going to put down attack and predation. Okay, now we're going to finish our unprovoked attacks over in Pensacola Bay, Florida. The date is November of 1911. There's an attack on Jules Antoine. This is from my David Baldridge book on the shark attacks. They have a case file for it in the Navy shark attack file from back then. And Jules Antoine, they don't know how he ended up in the water. They have a lumber lighter, whatever that is. It's something that maybe cuts up lumber, I'm thinking. But between the lumber lighter and the steamship that that Jules was on, Jules ended up in the water, and about 50 people looked down and they were watching as a shark, 12-foot shark, comes swimming just below the surface. So it's not even at the surface, it's still under the surface, but they can see Jules, his legs sticking out of the one side of the shark's mouth, and his shoulders, arms, and head sticking out of the other side of the shark's mouth. The shark dives, and when it comes back up, at least one of the 50 people that were watching fainted, because the only thing you could see of Jules now was his head. His whole body was inside of the shark's mouth. So the shark took him underwater, scooped him up. Reminds me of Robert Pamperin, the other one, Henri Murray. Both of those, I'm pretty sure those are 2 other of that they consider that were swallowed whole. But he was definitely swallowed whole. Now, I'm going to include a clip of the article that I looked up. I saw a couple articles on this from back in the day. I always research with the newspaper articles I can find from back then. So I'll put it in there, but they explain that they found part of his body when they were armed. The shark showed up the next day. They shot the shark. They get the shark up, and they find in this shark the whole body, his boots, his clothes. They identify him by tattoos, but they say part of his body, so I'm not sure that the head was there. I'm thinking maybe the head wasn't there, and that's why they say part of the body, and they're not going to get into that part of it. They also found an 8-pound piece of coral in that shark. So what it's doing eating coral, I have no idea, but Jules Antoine was definitely swallowed whole. It's the way that those sharks, you know, with those teeth that they have, they're just for tearing. They take the chunks and they swallow them. That's why people talk about taste. I don't think taste has much to do with it as far as are they getting a blubber fat that they know that they need to sustain them. So, you know, when they take big chunks, they take as big a bite as they can, but they just swallow it. One tiger shark, I believe it was found with a 8-foot blue shark, a 6-foot dolphin, and some other, a turtle or something inside of it. So they like to swallow their prey whole. It's just a matter of, you know, they usually don't have time to do it, but I would say that if they can, they will. They don't sit there, and they will take bites out of people too. Gruesome stories, at least one that I'm going to get into. I think it's off a Second Beach maybe, where, you know, they were a little late getting out to the body, and then great whale was just sitting there taking chunks out of the victim. So pretty gruesome, but being swallowed a lot whole like that, that's just, but I don't even know if he is alive. The shark had him underwater, taking him through there. So that's our attack, a predation, and swallowed whole, Jules Antoine. Okay, now we're going to finish out our show with What Were You Thinking? Back in April 14th, 1961, Keith Davis was out doing some normal fishing on his trawler. He was using a net, pulling up fish, and one of the stories in the paper had him falling overboard. This is one of the ones that interviewed him. Fell overboard into the water, and as soon as he hit the water, a 4-foot shark clamped onto his neck. He tried prying the jaws open. He couldn't get it to move. So somebody on the trawler grabbed a machete and cut the shark in half. They brought him up on the boat, and they were able to remove the shark from his neck. The other story comes from his wife. While he was resting in the other room, this is in my Shark Attack File book, well, David H. Baldrige book. He went ahead, and his wife was being asked about it, and she says, yeah. She says, he says that he was pulling up his net, and there was a 3-foot shark in that net. 3-foot gummy shark, she called it. And she says that he threw it up on the deck, and they went ahead and took care of the fish. She says that he took the shark, and he looked at it, I guess, and said, I ought to eat you. And right then the shark went ahead and latched onto his neck. Now the rest of the story is the same. He tried to pry it off, couldn't get it off. His mates tried to get it off. They couldn't get it off. One of them had to take the machete, cut it in half. They had to use pliers to get this shark off of its neck. So he had some pretty good damage. He got in and got fixed up, obviously, because he's resting as his wife is telling the story. But what the hell are you thinking? You're telling a shark you ought to eat it, and you get bit in the neck. I mean, you must have been almost kissing the thing, kind of like that other guy that had his lip ripped apart by a nurse shark. So, you know, what are you thinking? When I read these stories, what runs through my head is the theme song of 2.5 Men for some reason. So that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be back in a few days with another show full of attacks. And until then, if you go into that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.